Hello there, my fellow gamers. Which one of these pieces of media do you think contains more bugs? The hit 1998 movie A Bug's Life or Borderlands 4? If you chose Borderlands 4, you'd be correct. Vending machines that sell nothing, swimming for no reason, frame rates worse than a PS1 game, and a map somehow more pixelated than Minecraft's. Not to mention that 90% of PC players can't even play this game, as it takes one of these things to get it to run properly. And the best part about all of this is how the game's release date was moved up for being deemed ready for launch. Could this quite possibly be the buggiest platinum trophy of all time? After choosing my character Vex, which is the only right decision that I will get into later, we meet the main enemy of this game, the Timekeeper. I get saved from a fellow vault hunter named RJ, and not even 10 steps later, I was in search for an FOV slider, and to my amazement, there was none.
You gotta be kidding me.
We are in the big 2025, and there are still games launching without this option. The best part is how the most sane CEO in the gaming industry, Randy Pitchford, claims this is due to fairness. Brother, this is a PvE game, and PC has an FOV option. The only thing unfair is how my friends get to actually see things going on around them, while my game looks like I'm playing through a telescope. Quick disclaimer, as I was editing this video, they actually added an FOV slider to console. Better late than never, I guess. Anyways, I played the rest of this tutorial following RJ out of this prison, and debated if I wanted to move forward with this game because I was actually getting motion sick. I decided to hang in there because I was excited to play with my friends and figured that it would get better over time as I got used to it, and thankfully it did. RJ eventually gets kaboomed by this guy, and after taking him out, we try to save RJ, but he gets possessed by the Timekeeper and proceeds to stab himself. I am totally sure this will be the last time we hear from him. Finding ourselves on a beach, we get saved by everyone's favorite robot, Claptrap. He offers us hot dogs, which are just batteries. Thanks, man. Now, this is about the time I would have played with my friends, but they were farther in the story than I was because this game had an earlier release time for Steam players for some reason. What better way to encourage people to play a PvE story-driven game with their friends than to not have a single release time? So anyways, I played through most of the first zone story by myself. The first major zone is the Fadefields, and our goal here is to help a group of people called the Outbounders who crashed here on this planet. This part of the game was to deepen our alliance with the Outbounders, who also gave us insight into the Order's operations, aka the Timekeeper's army. After covering myself with meat to sneak into this meat processing facility, my friends decided they were tired of waiting and decided to join my game to help me catch up, and it was also around this time I got my first trophy for reaching level 10. And soon after, we also took on a world boss, and I got another trophy for doing so. At the end of the act, we took on Idolator Soul, a guy who has never eaten a salad in his life. He is one of the Timekeeper's lieutenants, and defeating him gives us a command bolt, which we will need to get to the Timekeeper later on. Now, I'm gonna keep it real with you, chat. Most of my time playing this game was with my friends, and we would rotate from farming loot to playing side quests and playing the main quest, so it was very difficult to follow what was going on in this game. Pair that with the fact that we talked over almost every single piece of dialogue, so to say I was confused about what was going on would be an understatement. I will eventually get back to playing this game's story to actually know what's going on in the Borderlands universe, but for now, all the knowledge I'm hitting you with is coming from my mentor, aka ChatGPT. The next thing we did was complete one of the 3 world events in this game, and each one has its own trophy. This one was the creep event, where we had to kill these creeps and throw the purple orbs they dropped into this machine. By the end of it, we had this really good system going on where someone would stay by the machine while everyone else threw the orbs towards them to put in, and after spending 20 minutes to get the best reward, we get blessed with 4 chests filled with absolute junk. The next chapter of the story takes place in Ccadia Burns, where we had to take down the Ripper Queen and her operations. We did find our way to Moxie's Bar, a recurring place in the Borderlands series, and my friends informed me this is where you should find the slot machines like they are in every other Borderlands, but for some reason, they're not in this one. Gearbox, if you are watching, please add slot machines. I'm addicted to gambling and there's nothing else to spend your money on in this game, please. When I came back here later, I did get this trophy for giving Moxie my tip. Yeah, sure. And then shortly after, while my friends were getting XP while I was selfishly looting weapons, I got this trophy for hitting level 30. We then decided to bang out the rest of the story in this region, which was just about restoring infrastructure so the Resistance can get a foothold in the area. We eventually fought our way to the Ripper Queen and took her out accordingly. None of the bosses so far have been too hard, but I assume that would be because we were playing co-op and they kept switching aggro every 10 seconds. Playing solo is probably a lot harder, so I'm glad my first playthrough was with other people. The next trophy I got was for completing all Electi missions, one of the side quest lines in the game. The Electi were formerly betrayed by the lady we just killed, who was at one point one of their lieutenants. The summary of this story is that you do a bunch of side quests for this guy, Leader Willem, who wants you to kill pests, relocate crates, and plant his devices in different locations. You eventually find through echo logs and clues that he is a traitor for the Electi, so you have to kill him. Now, I don't have a single piece of footage doing any of this, because I was off doing random things like raiding the bathroom at Moxie's bar, while my friends did all the quests. Thanks, guys. Wait a minute. What does it say inside this storage room? The next trophy I got was for discovering every location in the Fadefields, which I was very confused because I clearly have not been everywhere in this region. And then shortly after I got this trophy for discovering all locations in Ccadia Burns, again without even having all the locations in the region discovered. Next we focused on completing the main story in the far right region, Terminus Range. This section of the game is filled with these giant purple crystals called iridium, and the order is harvesting them and using these refineries to create super soldiers. You do run into some of these soldiers marked as vile, and they are very annoying because you can't damage them until you get rid of all their crystals, which do grow back if you don't destroy them fast enough. It's hard enough to shoot these off, and pair it with the fact that it's usually on the legs of enemies that don't stop moving, it gets very old very quickly. To stop this whole operation, we need to kill the leader, Vile Lictor, and by kill Vile Lictor, I mean watch my friends do it because my build was really bad and I was using guns like 10 levels lower than my actual level. The last part of this game is the Dominion section, which is in the very center of the map. You can't just go there, however, so the first mission was about breaching our way into the city and rescuing a girl named Lilith, who was an important character in past Borderlands apparently. We do make our way to space, and I don't know if you can tell, but my game was running at like 20 FPS at this point. I didn't want to reset because I didn't want to miss any missions or possibly any trophies. At the end of this mission, we did fight Callus once again, who was somehow still alive. I don't know, don't ask me, I don't know what's going on. You probably can't tell that though, considering the entire arena was filled with the most intense fog I've ever seen in a video game. This place was filled with more fog than Transit from Black Ops 2, and I am almost sure this has to be a glitch. After shooting in the general direction I thought the boss was, we killed her, saved Lilith, and got another trophy for doing so. And then right after we entered the city, I got this trophy for reaching level 50, and unluckily at the same time got a notification for low battery level. A lot of the missions here were just about killing Order forces and slowly making our way to the Timekeeper so we could murder him. We do make our way to the final door and use the 3 command bolts we collected throughout the game to open it and face the man himself. He has a few phases. The first one, you have to stand on these pyramids or you will lose a lot of your health, which my friends seem to not understand. And he does also place down these other triangles where if you stand in them, you take damage as well. He just rotates between these two, and honestly, it's pretty easy for a final boss fight. After he was dead, it was time to check out the final vault, and inside was, surprise surprise, our good friend RJ. You know, the guy from the beginning who supposedly killed himself. He was corrupted by the Timekeeper and was no longer willing to be a vault hunter, so we had to kill him as well. After beating the main story, for the next few hours we farmed drops, which allowed me to get the crit knife. You know exactly what knife I'm talking about. This knife on Vex is absolutely broken, as it is currently not working as intended, as the bleed effect it causes just stacks on each other and causes an exponential amount of damage. The only thing I needed to complete my build was the armored bod, which is why we were farming this boss, so what you are seeing right now isn't even this knife's full potential. The RNG gods were not on our side, as we farmed this thing for like an hour straight and we didn't get it to drop, so we decided to move on and we completed the Gordello event. You essentially just kill waves of enemies for a long time just for it to drop a bunch of greens and blues. I then loaded into solo for like the first time in 40 hours of playtime and got these 3 trophies when I spawned in. One for collecting 60 cosmetics, one for completing all auger missions, and one for discovering all locations in Terminus Range. I'm guessing these trophies were probably completed a long time ago, but for some reason they are bugged and won't pop when you're in somebody else's game. I really wouldn't be surprised considering this is the buggiest game I've ever played. The next thing we did was complete the Claptrap questline. We did some of these missions earlier in the game, but the last 2 missions were just him teaching us the basics of how to jump around and glide, which Really doesn't make sense because this is something they should have had you doing in the beginning of the game, not at the end. But oh well, thank you for the trophy. The next trophy I worked on was to complete 80 contracts in the game. Contracts are repeatable missions that you pick up where you either get a bounty to kill someone or need to collect stuff. By this point, this one was almost done because if somebody completes a contract in your game, it counts it for everybody in the lobby. This next clip has nothing to do with getting a trophy, but I just wanted to share that I got a toilet legendary, which I thought was pretty cool. The next trophy I got was for killing all primordial guardians in the vaults. This one confused me because I know damn well I killed each one of these guys multiple times, but the trophy just wasn't popping. I then figured I probably had to get the final hit on each one for it to count, and after killing this one all by myself, my theory was right. The next trophy was for finding a cutout of Dr. Tannis. You shoot these barrels and she magically appears riding this fish, which is apparently a common meme throughout the Borderlands series. I don't know why I waited this long for this next trophy, but the next one was just for equipping a legendary item in every slot. This next trophy is where the frustration of this game really starts to hit. You had to find Oddman's final resting place by knifing him through this portal and then finding his dead body in the ice. Unfortunately, if you already did this quest and shot him the first time around instead, you can't just replay it and knife him, so we were completely screwed. After going through our options, we decided to find some random guy in matchmaking who hasn't done this quest yet and do it on his world. We also tried doing the legendary vending machine quest, which we also didn't do right earlier, but all the machines were bugged and weren't selling any items, so we literally couldn't complete the quest. At this point, I was very annoyed because back-to-back quests were bugged and I felt like I was just wasting so much time trying to complete these. Eventually, we did join one of our friends who thankfully didn't complete the quest yet and their machines weren't bugged, so we were able to get the trophy. The next trophy was for reaching Ultimate Vault Hunter 5, which should be hard, but since I did acquire the gun I needed to completely break the game, it was very easy. To move up a UVH rank, you basically just kill 3 world bosses and complete a story mission. This was very boring because as you can see, things just died instantly, so I just slapped on some music and grinded this out for the next few hours. It all ends with killing the Timekeeper once again, and after murdering him in 1.2 seconds, I got the trophy. Next, while we were cranking out side missions in Dominion, I got the trophy discovering all locations here while browsing the map. The next one was for completing all Outbounder missions, which is the faction from the very first story arc in the game. They crash landed on this planet, so naturally they want to leave, so we helped them fix their ship and launch them back into space. Now this next part is where I generally wanted to crash out on this game. You have to complete all 98 side quests in the game, which doesn't sound too bad, but none of the missions you do in multiplayer carry over their completion into solo. So a lot of it is just completing a side quest and praying it wasn't you or a friend who did it already. I had about 30 that needed to be done, and it took me like all but 3 left on the map to do them all, which was very unfortunate. I don't know why side quests don't carry over to solo like the main quests. Next was to complete all activities on the map, things like augers, drill sites, and propaganda speakers. Basically areas where you kill a bunch of enemies and it marks them as complete. Thankfully, these seem to carry over from co-op and I didn't have to go on a wild goose chase to figure out which ones I didn't do. Next, I had to complete any of the gear and manufacturer challenges. I decided to do the pistol for the gear and the Jacobs for the manufacturer, considering they looked the easiest and I was the furthest with both of them. And as you can probably tell, right now my game was running at about a solid 15 frames a second. This game does not like when you farm a single dig site for an hour and leave all the loot on the ground. After completing the gear challenge, I realized I had to get all 4 characters to level 50 for a trophy to collect all vehicles, which made me very sad, so I went and cried myself to sleep. It doesn't seem too bad because you start at level 30, but they give you gray weapons and they do 3 damage a shot, so most of the time you're just dead. The strategy here is to just mind-numbingly complete contracts as they give you the most XP, and honestly, this part of the game had me questioning my entire existence. And if you thought my day couldn't get any worse, buckle up because it was now time to find Dave the Burrito. You have to find 15 burritos around the map, which is supposed to open this secret door. But guess what? After finding all 15, which are clearly all on this table, it wasn't opening. And I know I got all 15 because I followed a guide. Apparently someone said if an enemy shoots one of these instead of you that it can glitch out and not count towards the door. So knowing my luck, that's probably what happened. Once again, I had to employ the help of a friend, and luckily the door opened in his game. Next was the airship event, which is like the other events I did where you kill a bunch of enemies for a while just to get garbage loot. The only difference is you do this one up on ships instead of on the ground. The final trophy was to complete the Jacobs challenges, and for the last one, all I needed was kills, so I was farming another drill site. I was so happy to be done with this trophy list because it honestly was so frustrating towards the end. It just seemed like nothing was going my way. Alright, to rate this platinum trophy, it's gonna be a tough one. I think the game by itself is a solid A tier, but the amount of bugs and nonsense I ran into for some of these trophies puts this game's platinum in D tier. The game wasn't filled with 8 million bugs and the CEO didn't basically blame the fans for the game running like a potato. It probably would have scored way higher. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.